All right, so let's get into this. You want to understand the connection between Ken Whiting and Dan Arbuckle, the YouTube paddling stars, and Jason Berenstein from the Motor City Paddle Club in Michigan.
Yeah,
Not immediately obvious, right?
right,
We've got articles,
right.
the Canoetopia 2025 show, guide, even some personal paddling stories. And I think what we found is really fascinating.
I think the interesting thing here is how this all ties back to a larger shift happening in the paddling world, right?
Yeah.
A shift toward greater accessibility and a focus on building community.
Okay.
And you see this reflected both in the popularity of online resources like Ken and Dan's YouTube channels and in the growth of local clubs like Jason's.
Okay, so let's start with the Motor City Paddle Club.
Yeah.
They're all about getting people out on the water in Chesterfield Township, Michigan, Lake St. Clair, the Clinton River. Beautiful spots, right?
Absolutely, and it speaks to the desire for those close-to-home adventures.
Right.
But it's not just about the location, it's about creating a welcoming space for people to experience the joy of paddling, regardless of their skill level.
Right, and that's where the Canoetopia 2025 show guide comes in.
Right.
It's packed with clues about this shift in the paddling community.
Mm,
The Door County Sea Kayak Symposium, a long-running event, is moving and becoming Camp Rutabaga in Wisconsin.
right.
And this move is interesting because, as Al Fairfield, a regular at the symposium, points out, it's all about expanding the reach and creating a more inclusive, diverse gathering.
That's a key point. It mirrors what we're seeing with Ken and Dan's YouTube channels. They're not just showcasing amazing paddling destinations and techniques. They're actively building an online community where people can learn, share their experiences, and connect with other passionate paddlers. It's about fostering that sense of belonging.
Exactly. And the show guide is full of personal stories that really bring this to life. For instance, Stephen Carpenter talks about growing up canoeing the Brule River, the teamwork, the focus, the bond with his family. It clearly shaped who he is today.
It's a powerful example of how paddling experiences, especially shared ones, can create lasting memories and shape personal growth. And this theme of connection repeats throughout the show guide, too. Jean Nielsen, for instance, shares a poignant story about rafting the Middle Fork of the Salmon River, a place that holds a special memory of her beloved dog, Lily.
These stories are so powerful, aren't they? They show that paddling is so much more than just a sport or a hobby. It's about connecting with nature, with others, and even with yourself.
Precisely. And those connections are at the heart of the paddling community, whether it's experienced through a local club like Motor City Paddle Club or online through channels like Ken and Dan's.
So we've established that the paddling world is buzzing with this energy of community and shared passion. But where do Jason Berenstein and the Motor City Paddle Club fit into all of this? Well, the source material mentions that Jason actually met with Ken and Dan at Canoetopia 2025.
Right. And while we don't know the specifics of their conversation, it's safe to assume they were exploring ways to collaborate and further grow the paddling community, leveraging their combined influence.
Absolutely. Jason's running this club, making paddling accessible at the local level, and Ken and Dan have this huge online audience sharing their knowledge and passion with the world. It's a perfect synergy.
And it's worth noting that Motor City Paddle Club operates out of Weber Paddle Park in Chesterfield Township. This suggests they're focusing on making paddling accessible to a wider audience, even offering rentals and potentially lessons. It aligns perfectly with the themes of inclusivity and community building we've been discussing.
It all seems to be connecting beautifully, doesn't it? But what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, it means that even seemingly niche interests like paddling can open doors to fascinating stories, insights, and connections. It's a reminder that there are vibrant communities out there built around shared passions, and maybe you'll be inspired to explore some of those yourself.
And who knows, maybe your next adventure will lead you to discover your own paddling community, just like the ones being cultivated by Ken, Dan, and Jason.
The possibilities are endless.
They truly are. Now, before we move on to part 2, where we'll dive deeper into the personal stories from the show guide, I want to pause for a moment and really emphasize this point. If you're looking for a fantastic paddling experience in Michigan, check out Motor City Paddle Club. You can book your kayak rental for 2025 at Weber Paddle Park in Chesterfield Township through their website, www.motorcitypaddleclub.com. And while you're at it, take a look at Ken Whiting's Paddle TV and Dan Arbuckle's Headwaters Kayak channels on YouTube. They're full of incredible content.
That's a great reminder their work is inspiring and truly captures the spirit of the paddling community.
Absolutely. So let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll delve into those captivating stories from the Canoetopia 2025 show guide stories that provide an even deeper understanding of why paddling is so much more than just a sport.
Welcome back. We're continuing our deep dive into the heart of the paddling community.
And you know what's really striking about these stories from the Canoetopia 2025 show guide is how they resonate with the themes we were discussing earlier: community accessibility, personal growth. It's almost as if these individual experiences are weaving together a larger tapestry of what makes paddling so special.
Exactly. Each story offers a unique perspective, but they all point to the transformative power of being on the water.
Remember Jean Nielsen's story about rafting the Middle Fork of the Salmon River?
Yeah.
It wasn't just about the stunning location, it was about the deep connection she felt with her dog Lily, the peace she found in the simplicity of river life.
And that connection to nature, that sense of presence and stillness,
Mm.
it's a recurring theme throughout many of the stories. It's almost as if paddling allows you to strip away the distractions of everyday life and truly connect with what matters most.
It's like finding a sense of belonging, not just within a community of people, but within the natural world itself.
Precisely. And that's what makes these stories so compelling. They speak to a universal human need for connection, for meaning, for something that transcends the ordinary.
Take Ken Solifo's story, for example. He recounts introducing his partner Cherie to canoeing on the Kishwaukee River.
Right.
It's a heartwarming story about sharing something you love with someone you love.
Absolutely. And it highlights the way paddling can create shared memories, deepen relationships, and even introduce people to new passions.
I love the detail about Ken packing a picnic in his magic backpack.
Mm.
It's a small thing, but it speaks volumes about the intentionality and care that goes into creating a memorable paddling experience.
It's those little touches, those moments of shared joy and discovery that make paddling so much more than just a physical activity.
Absolutely. And the show guide doesn't shy away from exploring the challenges and complexities of paddling either. Whitney Bush, for example, reflects on a lifetime of canoeing in the Boundary Waters and how those experiences shaped her identity, even though she now lives in bustling Brooklyn.
Right. Her story resonates with the idea that paddling isn't just about the time you spend on the water, it's about the way it becomes woven into the fabric of your life.
Right.
It's about carrying those values of connection, resilience, and appreciation for nature wherever you go.
It's like a reminder that even if you can't always be physically on the water, the spirit of paddling can stay with you, shaping your worldview and influencing your choices.
And that's a powerful testament to the lasting impact that paddling can have. It's not just about recreation, it's about personal growth, self-discovery, and finding a deeper connection to the world around you.
Speaking of deeper connections, Darren Bush's piece about Frank Lake is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
He starts by describing his annual solo paddling trip to this secluded lake in Wisconsin, highlighting the peace and solitude he finds there.
Yeah.
But then his curiosity takes over and he starts digging into the story behind the lake's name. It turns out that Frank Lake was named after Frank J. Long, a state forest ranger and game warden who died in the line of duty back in 1937.
Right?
I love how Darren goes beyond just enjoying the beauty of the place. He delves into its history, uncovering a connection to the individuals who dedicated their lives to protecting our natural resources.
It's a reminder that every location has a story to tell, and sometimes paddling can lead you down these unexpected paths of discovery, deepening your appreciation for both the past and the present.
And those discoveries can be both personal and practical, right? Like Jeremy Vor's piece on Lento versus Presto, where he challenges the notion that slow paddling is the only way to truly appreciate your surroundings.
Exactly. He argues that there's a different kind of beauty and awareness to be found in paddling at a faster pace. He describes it as a meditation in movement, where the rhythm of the strokes and the focus on efficiency create a sense of flow and heightened awareness.
I think that's a really insightful point. It's not about one tempo being better than the other. It's about finding what resonates with you and allows you to connect with the water in a way that feels authentic.
And that sense of personal discovery of finding your own rhythm on the water, it's a key part of the paddling journey.
Absolutely. Now, the show guide doesn't just focus on the positive aspects of paddling. It also addresses the importance of safety and responsibility. Dorothy Gause shares a lighthearted but cautionary tale about her dog, Tucker, who turned out to be anything but a water dog.
It's a humorous reminder that not all dogs are created equal when it comes to paddling, and it underscores the importance of being prepared for the unexpected when you're out on the water.
Safety first, always, and that includes being mindful of the environment.
Right.
The Invasive Species Action Network reminds paddlers about the potential for spreading invasive species and the importance of following the clean, drain, dry protocol.
It's a simple but crucial step in protecting our waterways and ensuring that future generations can enjoy the same paddling experiences we do today.
Responsibility and respect for the natural world, it's at the heart of sustainable paddling.
And it connects back to the idea of community, of recognizing that we're all part of something larger than ourselves and that our actions have consequences.
Now, while personal experiences are a huge part of paddling, the show guide also recognizes the value of learning from experts. Jim Pippett shares his journey of becoming a skilled paddler through observation and practice, emphasizing the importance of taking classes and honing your skills.
It's a reminder that while paddling may seem intuitive, there's always more to learn, and seeking out instruction can make your experiences safer, more enjoyable, and more rewarding.
Exactly. And those learning opportunities can be found in so many places, local clubs, online resources, even just by observing other paddlers.
It's about being open to new knowledge, embracing the learning process, and continually seeking ways to improve your skills and deepen your connection to the sport.
So as we move into the final part of our deep dive,
Mm.
I want you to keep these stories in mind. They paint such a vivid picture of the paddling community, its values, its challenges, and its incredible potential to transform lives.
Each story adds a unique thread to the tapestry, creating a rich and multifaceted portrait of what it means to be a paddler.
And in part 3, we'll explore how the show guide tackles even bigger issues, like social justice and inclusivity in the outdoors.
Right.
We'll see how the paddling community is grappling with its past, embracing change, and working to create a more welcoming and equitable space for all. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the world of paddle sports.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From those inspiring stories of connection and adventure to the evolving landscape of events like Camp Rutabaga.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, and the Canoetopia 2025 show guide still has more to offer.
It does, and what's impressive is how it tackles important issues that go beyond just paddling techniques or trip planning.
Right, like you mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about social justice and inclusivity in the outdoors.
This is where the show guide really pushes the boundaries. It
Yeah.
doesn't shy away from difficult conversations.
Exactly. There's a powerful piece titled Paddling While White, Creating Equity in the Outdoors by Andrea Nepper, Patricia Broughton, and Noah Viner.
Right.
They don't hold back.
They don't. They call for white paddlers to acknowledge the systemic racism that exists in outdoor spaces and to actively work towards creating a more welcoming and equitable environment for people of color.
It's a call to action, a reminder that we can't just talk about community without addressing the barriers that prevent some people from fully participating.
And it aligns with that broader movement for social justice that's happening across society.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing our privilege and using it to advocate for change, to make paddling a sport where everyone feels welcome and respected.
This piece is a testament to the show guide's commitment to fostering a more inclusive paddling community.
It's a sign of progress, a recognition that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and equitable world.
And it's not just about race.
Right.
The show guide also touches on other aspects of diversity and inclusivity.
Like Dorothy Goss's piece about finding the perfect camp dog. It's a lighthearted story, but it also speaks to the importance of recognizing that there are many different ways to enjoy paddling.
Yeah, her dog Tucker might not have been a water enthusiast, but he was still a valued part of her paddling adventures.
Exactly, and that's the beauty of this community. There's room for everyone.
Whether you're a seasoned paddler, a newbie, a solo adventurer, or part of a group.
And whether you prefer to paddle fast or slow. Speaking of which, Jeremy Vor's piece on finding your paddling tempo is really thought-provoking.
He makes the point that both slow and fast paddling have their own unique benefits.
Right.
It's not about one being superior to the other.
It's about finding what works for you, what allows you to connect with the water in a way that feels authentic.
And that's a message that resonates throughout the entire show guide. It's about celebrating the diversity of experiences and perspectives within the paddling community.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Mhm.
I think it's safe to say that we've uncovered a lot more than just a connection between Ken Whiting, Dan Arbuckle, and Jason Berenstein.
We've delved into the heart and soul of the paddling community, exploring its values, its challenges, and its incredible potential for personal growth and social change.
We've seen how paddling can foster a sense of belonging, connecting us to nature, to each other, and to ourselves.
And we've been reminded that the paddling community is constantly evolving, striving to become more inclusive, more accessible, and more responsive to the needs of its members.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, it means that the world of paddle sports is much more than just boats and water. It's a vibrant and dynamic community full of fascinating people, inspiring stories, and endless possibilities for adventure and personal growth.
If you're looking for a way to connect with nature, challenge yourself and find a sense of belonging. Paddling might just be the perfect fit.
And who knows, maybe your next paddling adventure will lead you to discover your own community, your own stories, and your own connection to the water.
That's a beautiful thought. And on that note, we'll bring this deep dive to a close.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of the world of paddle sports.
We hope you've gained some new insights and maybe even been inspired to grab a paddle and hit the water yourself.
Until next time, happy paddling.